Well, I hope you all are enjoying the turkey content so far. In this episode, we have 3 hunts to discuss. The first one is a public land hunt in Wisconsin. The second one is a public land hunt in Minnesota. I actually harvested a pretty old bird there. He had 4 beards and currently sits number 3 in the state of Minnesota. And then on the third hunt, we're going to be hunting with my daughter as she tries to get her first gobbler. And so let's just jump right into it. These first 2 hunts are hunts that I've never posted before, just because the video quality is not the best. It's mostly with point of view or action type cameras. There is some main camera usage, but you'll get to see it as we get into it. So if you remember the last video where I killed RG, I'll put a link down in the description if you haven't seen that hunt, and go back and check that out so you'll get up to date. So right after I killed him, the next day I went to a different tract of public land in Wisconsin. And imagine this tract of land shaped like a block letter C. And then in the middle of the C there's a cornfield that's private, and then the public kind of wraps around it. There is one small chunk of timber on it. Half of it's private, half of it's public. I knew that birds like to kind of roost there. So I went in there basically blind the next morning, just with my knowledge of the area from the past seasons, and set up near that wood lot, hoping to pull them out to me, but you'll see how things go.
We're back in Wisconsin this morning. Tagged a public land gobbler yesterday afternoon, and now have the opportunity to try a piece of public land that I really haven't hunted this year, but I've been wanting to get out here. I just wasn't sure if there were any gobblers on it. It's a small piece of public, small little wood lot. It butts up to some private that has woods also. And I just didn't want to come over here when I knew there was gobblers on the other track. Got one gobbling, and it sounds like a Jake yelping. As soon as the gobbler gobbles, he yelp, yelp, yelp. So I haven't heard any hens yet, but I'm sure they're around. These birds are not coming in. Just ease down and look through a little gap through the hedgerow here in my binoculars. Spotted them up in the far corner. They're headed away from me. And it's 4 jakes, 1 longbeard, and 1 hen. But the longbeard's just strutting behind the jakes. He's showing no interest in the hen. They're on the private, but just barely, and they're headed straight into the public. And I'm gonna try and reposition. I'm gonna get my stuff together and just kind of keep an eye on them. They probably have another 50, 60 yards, and they're moving real slowly, feeding. They may go over that little knoll, and I'm able to get up there. If I can get close enough, maybe make some calls. That might be enough to bring them back to me. And last resort, I'll crawl up to them. Well, there they are. I figured they'd go right along the spine of the hill where they can see on either side, and I see the strutter bringing up the rear. Looks like these birds are headed kind of right along the spine, but just over and headed that way. I'm gonna make a big loop and try and get down and stay in the low areas and get in front of them. You know, whether they come to me or not, that's another story, but at least I can hopefully get to where I can monitor their progress and then decide what to do after that. No, this just beautiful. These birds are headed right down to where I was standing just a few minutes ago. They pulled one over on me. I watched these birds for a while, and then they went over the hill, crested over the hill. It was kind of a gradual slope to it, and they went out of sight. So I decided to go back to my truck and kind of go down the road and kind of get a bead on their direction. I didn't make it to my truck when I saw them coming back over the hill. And they were headed pretty close to where I was just standing earlier behind the trees, kind of glassing them out there in that field. Had I stayed there,
they probably would have came into gun range right there and probably could have got a bird. So I was kind of a little upset with myself for not being patient enough. But I've seen these birds do this in the past, and they go over that hill and they never come back. So I was going off of what I've seen in the past, and it didn't work out that way. So I was upset a little bit that I wasn't patient, and instead of leaving, I decided that I was going to try and circle on these birds, and if the terrain allowed and the cover allowed, that I would try to sneak up there to these birds and maybe get a shot, and get close enough at least to get a shot.
Somehow I managed to make it up here without them seeing me. I still can't believe it. I just peeked out there and I saw them next to the field edge. And came around here and I couldn't figure out exactly where they were. So I went and climbed up in the pine tree. And they're sitting 30 yards from the edge of the field. And I made a reference point. It's like a stump with a little bush to the left. So I'm gonna go up there and crawl. Hopefully they're still close enough to take a shot. And hopefully they don't hear me. Get on the move.
Sir, got me a big old gobbler. Yep. Good 1-inch spurs. Oh, nice beard. I see the pine tree in the distance. I climbed up in it and saw him. started over there. They were up on the hill going that way. I circled around all the way there. Saw them coming back down. They got to the little yellow flowers there. I decided to circle around. Got to the pine tree and I saw them right out here. They weren't far from the edge actually. So let's roll on into the next hunt. This is another public land hunt, and it's going to be kind of an action cam style footage here. This is in Minnesota, so I was originally supposed to take my daughter hunting on this particular day, but because of forecasted storms in the area, and we wanted to hunt all day, and she was going to miss a day of school, she decided that she wanted to miss the next day on a Thursday, and I would go hunting on my own, and then that way we could hunt all day Thursday together. Not wanting to go to this public spot because I didn't think I had but a couple hours to hunt before the storms rolled in. I didn't carry all my camera equipment. I basically just carried a shotgun and a mouth call, and then I put a little action camera on my head. I went to a location that I've noticed a pattern where the birds like to gobble on this point, or like to roost there from year to year. If one gets taken, another one the following year will take its place, and it's kind of a good spot for a bird to roost because it's some really sharp, steep hills coming off that point, and it's hard for predators to get to them from that location. Plus they can easily pitch out to the trees from the top of this little point, and it makes it easier for them to roost there, and it adds a lot of security for them. Anyway, I went in there in the dark and basically just kind of squatted in behind some brush. The ground was wet. I didn't have a turkey vest with me, and I guess I could have just sat on the ground, but I decided just to squat in the brush behind a tree, and I started calling softly at daybreak. I didn't hear any birds gobble for a while. Finally, after some crows started making some racket, one sounded off, and he was right on that point, just like I was hoping. So I soft called to him for a little while and raked the leaves a little bit, and when he pitched down, instead of pitching down on that point, he glided all the way across the valley. Now this is in southeast Minnesota, in what they call the bluff country. It's almost like almost mountainous terrain. It's very steep, rock outcroppings, sometimes hard to maneuver through this terrain, a lot of thick cover. There was another bird that was across the valley in the other direction, and he was hammering pretty good. Every time I'd make a call, he would respond, but he was a long ways off, at least a half mile, but he was interested in my calling. The one I'd originally set up on would gobble sporadically and didn't show a whole lot of interest. Since he was closer, I decided to go after him, so I had to kind of work my way down a huge hill, down into a ravine, and then work back up the hill on the other side. The problem with this terrain is the ground was so full of like little acorns or little pieces of sticks and stuff and tree debris that it was hard to keep your footing. It's like walking on marbles on a hillside. I took advantage of a little deer trail that cut across this side of this hill to allow me to walk easier. And I actually took a break there and sat down and used that deer trail as kind of a bench to sit on. And I just kind of listened for a while. I called occasionally bird across the valley a half-mile away was still hammering back to me. This one that I was originally on started gobbling and working his way back around me, and he eventually worked his way back to the point where he was roosted that morning. So I had a couple options here that were weighing in my head. I could A, abandon this bird and go after the easier one, the one that sounded like he was really interested in my calling a half-mile away, or B, continue to go after this bird. Well, since I was there and he was still gobbling, I didn't think he had any hens with him, I decided to stick with this bird. I didn't know how old this bird was. It was just a gobbler. To me, it's a turkey and he's gobbling and I want to kill him. So I decided to stay at it, but instead of just charging right after him, I decided to drop down the valley again and go around this point and then come up the other side and not make a call at all. Not to let him know that I was on my way. So I started working down the hill. It took me a while to slowly make it down that hill and then start climbing up the other side. In that time period of me not calling, this original gobbler, the one I started with that morning, he started gobbling more often. His frequency of gobbling increased. I think he was starting to get in a panic mode or desperate mode, like, where did this hen go? Well, I didn't call. I just continued to ease up. I got to the top of this hill, and you'll see in the video, there's a little outcropping of rocks there. And I poked my head right over top of it, and I didn't see the bird anywhere. And I made some soft calling, and I finally got him to gobble. Now this bird sounded like he was 30 yards or less away, but I could not find him. I could not see him. And I was worried that he would be able to see me. I could not see him. I could hear him. I knew he was right there in front of me somewhere, but I just couldn't find him. I took a gamble and crawled up to a tree and tried to keep a tree in between myself and where I thought he was based on his gobbling. I managed to get to that tree, and I called some more, and I was raking the leaves. He gobbled, and then he finally broke and started moving. He starts moving off to the left and kind of going down the slope, and basically the path that I took originally when I was going after him, he starts going down through on that side of the hill. I could tell where he was at because he would gobble or he would spit and drum, and I could see his advancement or tell his advancement by listening to him. And it was about a 5-yard distance each time. And so I decided I would just crawl up to the edge and then peek over, and I should have a clear shot at him because the trees or the woods were pretty open right there. Stoned him, 3rd degree. Saw his little head peeking up. Nice beard. Oh, multiple bearded bird. Oh, wow. This is a great public land bird. Look what that 3rd degree did to his head. You see that? That's ridiculous. Look at there. Embedded feathers in this. Oh yeah. He's got 3 beards. 3 long beards. Uh-oh. Might be a 4th one. I see a strand. Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 beards. I knew from past experience that birds like to roost along this point here. Well, one was roosted probably right in here somewhere. And I eased into the woods and set up there about 80 yards away. And as it got light, I did some soft calling. Well, he pitched down and went to that side. Now what to do? I started to abandon this bird. I was like, yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with me. But I was like, you know what? He's gobbling. It's the only one I hear right now. So I slid down this big ravine, come up the other side. Somehow he slipped around me because then he gobbled up here in the ravine. A little bit later, he was back up on this point gobbling, like his little strut zone. So instead of just attacking straight at him, I said, you know what? He sounds like he's on this side of the hill. I'm gonna come up and go around. So I came up and got around and got up on that point, and he sat right there and gobbled forever. I could not see him. I finally heard him gobble coming off the backside of this hill, and saw belly crawled up to the edge. Heard him spit and drum, and I was kind of looking. Finally seen the head and the eyeball looking at me, just barely over the grass. And so got the bead on him. He started to leave, and 3rd degree did the trick once again. So a pretty good ending there. A little bonus there that this bird had 4 beards. I'm not big on records or anything like that. I think it's just a cool anomaly. This turkey had 4 beards and went ahead and registered him with the NWTF, and he ended up being number 3 in the state of Minnesota. So it's something cool to have. I got the bird mounted. He's up in my living room right now, and it's just a cool thing. I love those multiple bearded birds. They're really neat. Anyway, so the next day I get to take my daughter hunting. And this one here, I think I did a better job of filming it, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you leave a comment, give her a little congrats down in the comments. She takes a look at them, and she'll be real thrilled to see that. Good morning. We're in Minnesota. I filled my Minnesota tag yesterday, and my daughter's been wanting to go. This is Brooke. She likes to make faces to the camera. But this is actually, I guess, technically her 3rd year turkey hunting. She hunted in the fall of 2014, missed a bird. And then we went last spring, had some jakes come in, but they were too bunched up, and we just couldn't get a nice, clean, safe shot of just tagging one bird, so we had to let them slip away. That was a little frustrating, huh? And then we had a big gobbler on another hunt, but he was just a little out of range for my liking for her to take. He was probably about 35, 40 yards away. So hopefully this year, we've got about a week worth of hunting we can do before the season closes. And since I've tagged out, Brooke and I are going to hunt as much as we can the next 6 or 7 days and see if we can get a bird come in and just stand still for us a little bit and give her a chance to put the red dot on it, and dead turkey. You trying to trick me? You got me too. You said, like a little dog. Brooke, get up, turkeys. Shh, get up, turkeys are up there. See them up on the hill. Okay, calm down.
a Jake?
I see all hens. I'm looking at the binoculars.
What might you a Jake?
Talk real quiet. I see a adult hen. Adult hen. Looks like all adult hens. Here comes the Jake, sweetie. He's coming to the left. Okay. He's right there. He's coming. You see him? He's gonna come in. Look at him strutting. Yes, a Jake. He's puffing up. I think you could slowly get out there and shoot him. Slowly, I mean like a snail's pace. So shoot slowly. Slowly. The safety is off. Get back here. Put the dot on the gobbler's head. Yes! So Brooke's been sleeping most of the morning because it's kind of chilly. It was supposed to be warm today. Hop up here so everybody can see you. And the sun was just about to come out. It's starting to clear out. And I looked up here and I saw heads coming over the hill and thought it was just hens. And so I kind of relaxed and she sat back down. And I looked back up there and sure enough, there's a gobbler with him. He's laying out there dead because somebody put a perfect shot. Shooting a little weaver red dot sight for her. And it really makes it easier for the young hunters to aim at the turkeys, doesn't it? And as she gets older, she'll switch to something else, maybe just go to the bead.
Or just the scope.
Yeah, or scope. So what did you think of your first hunt? Was it pretty exciting? Not a whole lot of goblins this morning.
Not the first hunt.
Well, your
the first turkey.
Yeah, first turkey.
Happy.
This is Brooke's third or fourth turkey hunt. She had an opportunity at some jakes last year. They were just too bunched up together, so we didn't take a shot.
Because I only had a tag for one.
Yeah, and didn't want to risk shooting.
If I shot, I would probably get 2 or 3.
Yeah, so we didn't take a shot, did we?
Nope.
So, all right.
It's only for safety.
We're gonna get some pictures of this beautiful bird and my beautiful daughter with her very first turkey. Beautiful bird. And we got to thank Mike Stelzner for allowing us to come hunt some of these properties here he has permission to hunt and help put Brooke on her first turkey.